Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Talk About Script podcast. Today's episode, trying to remember what we did last summer. With me, as always, is the Pound Shop Doctor Strange, Charlie Carthy.
Hello. It's been a while.
And the they, the them, the legend, Ali.
Hello.
Okay, so we're going to talk about things we saw over summer. And we're going to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. We're going to talk about Twisters and Alien Romulus. And we'll start with Deadpool and Wolverine, and I will throw that straight to Ali.
Everyone who has spoken to me knows that I love Deadpool and Wolverine. I saw it 4 times over the summer.
You loved one particular part, like aspect of it.
Well, I'm not sure one part. But
Yeah.
Everyone else seems to think it's because of Hugh Jackman, but
huge action.
I mean it was, but we look past that.
When Hugh Jackman came on the screen, did the following thing occur?
Yes.
Or was it more like...
No, definitely the first one. I just think it's a really good film. I didn't really like some of the dialogue was a bit cringe, like when he was really referring to Gen Zs, and when Cassandra Nova comes out, it's like, oh, you Gen Zs, and you're always needing to trauma dump or something like that. And I think it was just like more like when he was with Gambit in that cave area, and he was just like, I've already been cancelled, I don't need to be cancelled again. Some
bits
bits
on the nose.
Yeah, I was just a bit like, that's a bit cringe. But that's just personal preference, I guess. It's a really good film. I like the story, the costumes.
Lack of costumes.
Well,
Wait.
that was nicely added in.
Yeah. Did you react like the TVA characters at the end when they saw him without his shirt?
Yeah, pretty much. And the 4th visit I went, it was me and my nan, and I looked over at her, and she was like literally starstruck. Like, she couldn't take her eyes off the screen.
Yeah. I mean, I think we already identified there were going to be 3 things we were going to struggle not to talk about. We've already broken the first one, which is huge action being jacked. And so, you know, when we get onto Twisters, we have to try not to say, if you feel it, chase it constantly. And obviously when we get to Alien, the less talk about oral penetration, the better. But, you know.
That's what those are the 2 words everyone wants to hear in their ears, especially with headphones on.
I know.
Oral penetration.
So aside from Hugh Jackman, is the film actually any good, Charlie?
I thought so. It was definitely a greatest hits of everything Fox, which is exactly what I was expecting. I remember texting you coming out of it and thinking and saying, this is going to hold up better on a rewatch than No Way Home.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think you're probably right on that.
Even though in the Cave of Cameos, it still has its pause, hold for applause moments as everyone makes their grand entrance.
But even that's kind of done with fun, though, isn't it?
It is. I was one of those people in the cinema just laughing at every intro, everyone they brought back, especially Channing Tatum's Gambit. And I know you, Ali, you said like, oh, some of the lines are a bit cringe, a bit on the nose, but again, I thought that was all in good fun. Saying I feel like I was born here. I mean, he never got made.
I do feel there's a bit. I mean, Spider-Man No Way Home has a lot of heart in the script.
Yeah.
Obviously, once you take the cameos out, it becomes less impactful. But the actual core script still has a lot of heart to it. Deadpool and Wolverine does attempt that. Hugh Jackman gets some good acting scenes in.
Yeah.
It's incredibly meta, though, isn't it?
Yeah. I did like he did feel like a different Wolverine.
Yes.
Like different than what was in Logan, different than what was in all the X-Men films. And obviously much, much angrier. But
I like angry Wolverine.
Yeah, I liked it. It works. And I mean, I don't want to be one of those that's like, oh, it's more comics accurate, but it basically is. He's always a raging berserker. Or just a grumpy a-hole.
It's a lot closer to the cartoon Wolverine,
yeah,
like the X-Men '97 Wolverine.
And go back. Sorry to go back to cameos, but the montage at the beginning, all the different Wolverines.
Oh.
yeah, it's meta. Yeah, it's going for comic fans like me. But I loved just noticing like how many they did and what comics they were from. Age of Apocalypse Wolverine with all the hair. Like, all the hair was amazing. Even just not seeing him fully, just seeing the hair in the shadows was really... It's really 90s. It's really late 90s with a comic. Like, it's exactly how they painted it. Just buttloads of ink everywhere. Ink and spikes coming out of everything. But yeah, really cool. And yeah, even just, you know, how... What's the word that you described there? The TVA, basically how non-caring about how evil they can be.
Yeah, they don't. They just kind of don't realize what a bunch of a-holes they are, do they?
Yeah, I liked that aspect of it, and you know, that just setting Wade off on the adventure.
It is interesting in that it is obviously very meta and very like a refresh of the MCU. I mean, it's you know, it's probably the best thing the MCU's put out since Guardians 3, I would say.
I'd agree.
But I still think it's probably lower level than something like Guardians 3 in terms of its overall impact.
Yeah.
It's almost a bit too. There are too much of it is too throwaway.
Yeah. Still like Deadpool 2 the most.
Yeah,
Out of the three. That's the one that has had the most heart. But this one, I would, you know, happily. I haven't seen it 4 times, but I probably could, and still enjoy it. Maybe not 4 times in a single summer, but and still enjoy it.
Spread over 2 months.
Okay. Okay. I mean, but yeah, I'll still laugh again and again when I watch it, especially the intro dance.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Epic
Bye.
Well, we were talking about this thing of like every movie has to have a song now, doesn't it? Even Beetlejuice, etc., has a song.
No, but the first Beetlejuice already had a song,
Yeah,
so it's just
very
going
true.
along with how that was done. So I don't think we can use that as an example. But I think like it's not that every film needs a song, because we're like Twisters didn't have a song, Alien didn't have a song.
Alien didn't have a song. You could there's various bits in Twisters, I guess you could argue, but I don't know. It seems part of the meta now is to try and launch a song back into the chart.
Yeah. Do you think?
I mean, I love it in Deadpool.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
No, but like if you think of it, in X-Men 2, Logan's in the car with the kids, and I can't remember his name.
Pyro.
He puts on the radio and it's bye, and Logan literally like turned that off.
Oh,
he hates it. So then that was at the
forgot
intro.
about that.
Guys, come on.
God.
And you say you're nerds.
Ali outmetted me.
Oh my god.
First time for everything.
Ali has reached the next level of nerd.
I just really like the X-Men.
Meta Ali.
But yeah, really good. Really enjoyed it.
I say the only problem I have with it is, say, obviously I watched it a while ago, like start of the summer. I can't really think of apart from the dance, you know, the dance fight at the beginning with To In Sync, I can't really think of a standout scene. You know, I know I had a good time watching it.
The first fight scene they have.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd just be interested to see on a rewatch how much I still like it. I'm sure it will.
See, for me, it's either the fight in the car, which
Yeah,
is
the fight
just-
in the car.
that
Wonder
is
Yeah.
Odyssey
brilliant.
scene.
Yeah.
Or I actually really liked what's her name, Emma Corrin
Oh yeah.
as
Oh, yeah.
Cassandra. Like
Oh,
just
the
seeing the
fingers.
hands, the hands and the fingers
yeah.
sticking out of the head.
Especially when they're doing it on Paradox. Like that's proper disgusting.
Yeah, it's like it's still uncomfortable body horror. Something that Alien Romulus also did pretty well.
Yeah.
But yeah, just made me squirm a little bit watching it. But I thought she was brilliant.
Yeah, she was a great character, actually. I mean, there is some good use of actors in there from obviously previous films and things like that. Actors who weren't viewed particularly well,
Yeah.
perhaps in their original performances, kind of redeemed themselves a bit.
If there was something I would add to the film, it would be a little bit more backstory. Not much, not a full backstory, but a little bit more towards Cassandra Nova and all of the old X-Men villains. Like
Yeah.
basically how they were all thrown away. Because she was good as a villain, but like I actually just wanted to see a bit more of her.
Also, I thought missed opportunity to get Kevin Bacon involved. Because that would have been like, if they're going for meta,
Yeah.
because obviously he's in the Guardians Christmas special and obviously was in X-Men First Class as the villain.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a huge, I'm surprised that there wasn't something in there relating to that.
Or even some mention like, no, we brought him back. He's the Star-Lord really wanted him, made him a hero again.
Sexy Bacon.
Yeah.
So, wrong film. But yeah, I mean, the action scenes are good. I do like, obviously, the Wesley Snipes inclusion is awesome.
Yeah. Wesley Snipes and Daphne Keane.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was very sensible, wasn't it? Bringing Daphne Keane back. I mean, which
Yeah.
obviously trying long term, they're trying to launch the Young Avengers, and that just kind of makes sense.
As long as she's got those sunglasses.
Yeah.
Sunglasses and claws.
I mean, Disney are pretty high on Daphne Keane anyway, don't they? Because they shoved her in the Acolyte as well to try and give that some gravitas.
Yeah.
But could that not just be them trying to run her contract along? Because in certain contracts, they put a certain amount of hours or like episodes or films.
I mean,
are gonna be
undoubtedly,
in.
but I think they're probably trying to. They wouldn't have kept her like how Deadpool ends. They wouldn't have kept her in the franchise if they weren't planning on using her long term. Marvel generally gets rid of people they don't want to use. So they've obviously got plans. I wouldn't be surprised if she starts popping up in other Disney stuff, Disney owns, which is normally what happens.
Yeah, I mean, they could keep making Hugh Jackman do this till he's 90.
They could. He must be out of contract by now.
But
surely.
eventually, he's gonna have to stop.
This one would have been his first Disney contract, though.
Yeah, true.
And because Logan was going to be his last film,
Yeah.
and then have you seen the interviews where he watched the first Deadpool and he was like, I want to come back into this. I need to revive Wolverine somehow.
I would imagine he'll turn up in Secret Wars.
Yeah.
And then that will actually be it.
But yeah, I'd be happy to see Laura take the mantle.
I just think it's an obvious choice. I'm almost surprised we didn't have the little Miss Marvel recruitment scene literally on the end. But
that's
it's the only possible reason that they would be keeping that going.
They can save it for another time. They can do any of that in Secret Wars.
Yeah.
But this was like finishing it on, again, the family dinner, all of them together, with Logan and Laura there as well. Brilliant way to end it.
Yeah.
It really felt like a rom-com as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a typical rom-com, isn't it? How do you impress a woman? You've got to save the entire multiverse. I mean,
I meant the rom-com between Wade and Logan.
Yeah. A lot of
people.
homoerotic rom-com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we all saw the same Honda Odyssey scene, right?
There was a lot of tying up.
And there was a lot that we didn't see. Mm-hmm. The car was still shaking with no blood splattering.
Dear, don't put a black light in it. Oh, dearie me. So Ali's mind has gone to the gutter. Fair enough.
Well, Hugh just takes them there.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They have seen it 4 times.
It's just a really good film. There's so many moments where it's just, You're thinking of the wrong moments. I'm thinking of like the good stuff, like the fight when they've just gone into I can't even remember where it is, the unknown place.
The void.
The void.
The void. That's it. Into the unknown.
Don't sing.
That first fight. The first fight between them two, and then as they're leading up to what we think Chris Evans is going to say.
Oh, I knew that straight away.
Oh yeah, it was obvious.
Yeah.
Well, not all of the nerds.
I'm still really happy they did it though.
And it was still really good on the 4th watch. So
yeah.
Chris Evans must be having so much fun doing a role like this, especially where he actually, the post-credit scene where we see him actually being sweary. Talking smack about Cassandra.
He said in an interview that was his favorite monologue to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very different character from Captain America, though, isn't it? So it's a great pivot for him.
Yeah.
So we do appreciate that. that was a good, That was a good moment.
But yeah, and I like thinking of it now as a good rom-com.
Yeah.
Journey across the end of.
Because that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's well, I mean, if you really want to get into it, I suppose it's a fleece, isn't it? It's a buddy fleece, two people needing each other across time and space.
Yeah, but it's not the first time Marvel's done that.
No.
Steve and Sam were basically the romantic partners in
Yeah.
Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah. Well, Marvel does it. It's like, how can we make people look as gay as possible without losing money in foreign markets? See also Aubrey Plaza in Agatha.
Yeah.
and Florence Pugh in Thunderbolts. It's like, yes, indeed.
But yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it coming streaming again.
It's out on streaming.
Well, free
Is it out
streaming.
now?
It's
Paid
on
stream.
like Prime, Apple TV, and all that. But on Prime, it's like £14 to buy.
Oh, okay.
But apparently, it's coming out on November 6th on Disney Plus.
November.
Okay.
Because they're still showing it in
wait.
cinemas.
It's still in. It's still lasted a long time, hasn't it? So
Yeah.
it's obviously doing well.
Yeah.
Very well, in fact. It's weird. Hugh Jackman is a draw because last time, like, Greatest Showman stayed in the cinema for like a year.
Well, that year it was Logan and The Greatest
Yeah.
Showman at opposite ends of the year.
Yeah.
Because it was February, Logan came out, and then it was like November that Greatest Showman came out. I saw
God.
both in the same year.
God, that's like Barbenheimer with the same
Yeah.
actor
I
in
know.
terms of tones.
Imagine if Cillian Murphy was Barbie.
Now there's a thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Nuclear Barbie.
And on that note,
Yeah.
shall we move on to Twisters? Right. Okay, so Charlie hasn't seen Twisters because he's a fool. But Ali and I went to see Twisters, and
I'm ready to be regaled
It's
about why I should watch this.
I mean, it's a good time, isn't it, Ali?
It really is. It's quite like the first one, like the original that they made. I can't remember what year, but it's
What are you going to say? No, I can't remember what it was called.
I can't remember what it's called. And I don't know. It's Twister, not Twisters. I really liked how it was all set up, and
I like how it calls back. It is the most 2000s action blockbuster that has ever been made.
And what do you mean by that?
It's
What are
got
the
that
tropes?
vibe of like a thing is happening and like we need some stuff. And of course they've like, so it starts out where she's having doing the normal twistery stuff, looking at twisters, being a scientist. And of course something happens, which means she has to walk away from that twister life. And like, she doesn't want to get pulled back in, man. But
she's expecting a smaller tornado than what is coming, and then it's
Yeah.
a much bigger one on a much
And like-
larger scale.
stuff happens.
So her like project was that she can stop twisters from happening because she's researching, like her family live on a farm, so she's researching how to stop the twisters to help farmers out. And then this experiment didn't go very well.
No.
No spoiler alerts, but
Well, it's not really that sort of film, is it?
no, not really.
But
People
that
die.
Yeah.
Let's get over it.
Well, of course, because it's a 2000s action movie. So if you think back, it's all that like, movies like Cliffhanger and there's like the original Twister, all this stuff where, expert gets trauma, walks away from expert life and is gradually pulled back in order to redeem themselves.
Yeah. And for one grand project, one grand version of what they walked away from.
Yeah,
And this is their chance to get it right this time.
that's it. They're going to get it right this time.
And she gets it right real big.
Yeah, and it's like, oh no, and she's going to have to team up with like a ragtag group of people who aren't the normal sort of people she hangs out with, and maybe there's a little romantic overtone in there, and yeah, it's
But
great.
then she meets up with one of her friends who was on the original project, and he's like, I have this massive thing. It's really going to help you. Like, we really need your research. Like, we need your intelligence to help us with this. And it seems like it's going to be okay, but as you're watching it, you're thinking, you're doing a dodgy.
This is a 2000s blockbuster. We know it's not going to be okay.
Yeah. And then you start thinking, like, at least I did, that he definitely wants something more from this girl. And then this other group come in, and you're just like, immediately, is this going to be a love triangle? Is this what it's going to be? And then it almost feels like a competition between the two guys of who's
Wow.
like going to win this girl. But then, yeah.
It changes. Glenn Powell just kind of rolls in a huge 4-wheel drive truck playing country music, you know,
While streaming the whole thing.
while live streaming and shouting, if you feel it, chase it. And you're like, oh, Glenn Powell's here to save the day, doing his best Matthew McConaughey impression. And then it's like, oh, he's gonna win the day. Is it going to be the scientist or is it going to be the ragtag group of storm chasers? Which is the most hilarious thing. It's like, we didn't go to no MIT.
But let me guess, there's the ragtag group of storm chasers. They've got some what do you call it? Some like grassroots knowledge that they've only learned by chasing storms themselves.
Oh,
and
yeah.
not watching from a distance.
I learned from the streets, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe they learn to get along with the scientists.
You know, and it's this classic early 2000s thing of like, hey, there's loads of characters here, but we know nothing about any of them apart from the two leads. You know, it's like they've got a nickname and a signature piece of clothing, and that is it.
We don't really know anything about Glenn Powell's character.
All right. We do by the end. He kind of gradually reveals himself to be more than just a kind of wild
Yeah, but there's still not
redneck
really
boy.
enough there.
No, but he's hot.
It's all
That's
about
fine.
the girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
You said it.
See, I don't know if this is 2000s enough, but when you describe that, there's a bunch of extra characters we don't know anything about in a disaster film, in a movie about giant twisters. Then are any of them red shirts? That's what I'd expect. As in they're brought in to die, to get killed by the disaster.
No, actually, there's not an awful lot of that.
Apart from at the beginning,
Yeah, where
no one else dies.
Oh, okay.
well, there's a few crazy locals we meet, aren't there? Like when they go to the diner, and there's the hipster couple in the diner, like, no, we need to drive off, and they're like, no, it's really good,
yeah.
and they're like, oh,
But
hipsters.
they're not the ones that you like learn about.
No.
Like learn about.
No,
know anything
it's like
about them.
oh god, it's like the radio scene, isn't it? It's like
Oh
when
god.
Glenn Powell's trying to bond with Daisy Edgar Jones, he's like, I know what this girl needs. Take her to the rodeo. And it turns out it's not her first rodeo anyway. Characterization, because she's a
Yeah.
farm girl, but she did go to MIT.
And he's immediately impressed, and
He's like,
"Ooh."
oh yeah, she can handle the ball, basically. And then just like a twister alarm goes off, and then it's like all chaos.
It sounds like there's no subtlety to that at all.
There is this is like sledgehammer level. Like I said, it's early 2000s.
Yeah.
It's literally the subtlety of like, hey girl, you're hot.
You're hot and you're smart.
The perfect.
I'm emotionally unavailable.
yeah,
Sorry.
but we're from different sides of the tracks. But you sit there and you're like, why am I enjoying this film so much? Because it is a great ride. But actually, what it does do, really, the sound is mental.
Oh, so good.
The sound is absolutely incredible. Like the actual sound of the twisters. They've done what they did in the original where they like add animal noises and stuff into it. So it sounds like this kind of raging, uncontrollable, rabid beast type thing. And it's so effective that the scenes when the twisters hit never fail to be impressive. And the special effects are awesome. I mean, the scale, the destruction. I mean, the twister hits like 4 or 5 times, and as well, there's no like, oh, we're gonna leave it an hour and a half before the twister hits. It's like, no, there's twisters all the time hitting stuff, and it's always exciting. They do different things each time with it as well. It's quite.
There
clever.
was even a moment where so Glenn Powell's team and Daisy Edgar Jones' team were going towards 2 different on the east it was a double twister, and on the west it was, I'm doing that the wrong way around. It was a single twister, and Daisy wanted to go to the single twister. Was it the single?
Yeah.
It was the
She
single
follows
one.
the single
She
one.
follows the single one, and obviously Glenn Powell's team, because they're storm chasers and they literally stream everything, went to the double one, and then as they got there and they started recording and getting everything ready, it died down.
It peters out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And he's
And
like, oh yeah, that
Daisy's
girl's
like,
got
yeah.
something.
She
It's
knows
so
her stuff.
ridiculous. I mean, this is really the film for people who thought Glenn Powell was too subtle in Anyone But You, or Top Gun Maverick. You know, if you're too many layers of subtlety there. This is a very direct kind of like, vibe. He's very forward, isn't he? He's always giving her pizza, taking her out for drives. He
doesn't even need to say anything.
No. His star is definitely on the rise in Hollywood. We'll see how long it takes him to take a superhero role.
Yeah.
It can't be far off now. But it's just, I'm glad I saw it in the cinema. It's still screening every now and then. I've seen a few listings for it. It's well worth seeing. I can't wait for it to come to streaming. I mean, whether it'll be as impressive outside of the big screen, I'm not so sure. But it's also that early 2000s ridiculousness of it, like what happens to the Twister right at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're like, hey, we won't go into completely spoil it, but it's literally like...
Well, can you give us, like, put the scale of disastrousness from 0 to 10?
Doesn't it?
It goes over... It's not even
it's
like...
a 10.
It's not near the town, but it still takes it out. Like, it's ripped out half a cinema. It's destroyed the whole market. It's like it's literally ripping like water tanks off these buildings, and it's nowhere near this town.
Yeah, and it's also the thing of like, what can we do to make a Twister more scary? And it's obviously they don't put sharks in it, but there is a thing which there is a thing which happens, and you're like, oh my god, just to make the Twister even more terrifying, which is quite hilarious. It's like, how do you up the stakes each time? Because they're all the Twisters are really like pretty dangerous throughout. And I also love the fact that, of course, tapping into the early 2000s, there's always someone ready to exploit the poor people left behind.
Oh, of course.
You think they're helping, but, there's someone swooping in. It's all very obvious. These sound like spoilers, but they're not. If you don't pick it up within 5 minutes, I don't know what you're doing. So
the rest of you are interested in science. I'm interested in money.
It's almost, it's almost like the guy who's coming and going, hi, I'm Sheriff Bad Guy.
Oh.
But an unexpected delight, I would say. I'm really glad we went to see it. And I cannot wait for it to come out. I think it's going to hold up a lot better than a lot of people realise. So, yeah, Charlie, you need to see it. I think you'll appreciate it.
Okay.
So a good double or triple bill. So you could watch like Cliffhanger, Twisters, and there are others. I'm trying to think. Vertical Limit was the other kind of obvious late 90s, early 2000s comparison. All those like adrenaline, taking on the environment as much as the bad guy kind of vibes. So yeah,
cool. I will have to keep an eye out for it then. If there's any showings at all now, then I'll go for that.
It can't be far off coming to streaming. I'm sure it's already on rental.
Otherwise, I'll just put it on a big screen and probably have to put my headphones on for the way you describe the sound. The
sound is amazing. I might.
Well, once it comes out on Blu-ray, we can buy it, and then we've got a massive screen.
Yeah, we'll put it in our special screen and see what happens. Okay. Hey, Ali, if you feel it,
chase it.
Okay. So the last movie we're going to talk about is one we saw just after the summer. Which is Alien Romulus.
The day after we saw Twisters.
Oh, it was the day after we saw Twisters. We spent a lot of time in that cinema. Different vibe. Okay, so we have different levels of Alien expertise around here. So, Ali, how many Alien movies have you seen, or was that your first one?
That was my first one.
So we have Ali's first Alien experience. Charlie?
I've seen them, but, keep going back to the first one, but I've seen them all.
Have you seen Covenant now?
Oh, no, not Covenant. I skipped that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to see a xenomorph in the daytime.
It's actually not that bad. And then I've seen all of them. You don't need to see all of them. But
no.
Yeah, so we have different levels here. So Alien Romulus is kind of been advertised as a return to the roots of the franchise, try and make things scary again, get rid of all the complex stuff, which Prometheus, and I have to say to a largely far more successful extent, Covenant expands upon. but take it kind of back to basics, change out the cast, and try and you know.
Yeah, even like remembering I just remember, is it Resurrection, the fourth one? Yeah, that was just...
Space Cowboys.
Yeah, Space Cowboys, action, machine guns and flamethrower. Well, did they have the flamethrowers there as
There,
well?
yeah, there's flamethrower in that. Yeah.
Yeah, and shooting lots of the aliens on a spaceship, but...
yeah, Alien
not
Bebop.
It wasn't as, nowhere near as horrific as the first one.
No, I think obviously what's happened is Prey has come out and revitalized the Predator franchise. Oh my God, by the way, I watched The Predator. Dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. But Prey has come out and obviously gone, hey, why don't we take it back to basics? Look how that's revived the franchise. And someone's gone, hey, shouldn't we do that with Alien as well?
Yeah.
Yes, they definitely should.
When the premise works, it works.
The promise of the premise.
Yeah, you just take a different type of character in it.
Yeah.
And put them in this inescapable house with a monster in it, and see how they react. But I really liked this one. It did feel refreshing.
So we've got a younger cast here, and they're basically stuck on a mining planet, I guess it is, owned by the Weyland Corporation, who, if you've seen the Alien movies, are responsible for everything bad in the world, effectively. And they can't get off this planet for whatever reason.
Well, they're in debt. They're always in debt to the company and have to work off their debt.
And we see the main character even clears hers, and yet they just add more on. So we know it's not dissimilar to the prison sentences in Andor, actually. But
it's not subtle in saying capitalism bad.
Yeah, you're being exploited.
Yeah, corporation exploit.
But they see a chance to escape, and they get up onto a passing space station. So not just a ship, but a passing space station, and fun ensues. So, Ali, how did you find the vibe for this?
The vibe?
Yeah.
I will be honest, I was a little bit confused with the beginning because I didn't really know what was going on. Obviously not having seen the last few, but then I just kind of guessed it they're fully going into the sci-fi because I was expecting like humans on Earth, and it wasn't that. And then
I don't think they've ever done anything on Earth. I know there was a deleted scene in one of the movies, but I don't think they've ever done anything on Earth.
Only in Alien vs Predator.
Oh yeah,
which we forget about.
That doesn't count.
But I've not seen any of the others.
Yeah, but that doesn't count.
I didn't even read a summary of any other films.
No, I've not seen many trailers either. So
no.
But yeah, what did you think of it when they get into the ship?
Oh, when they were on the ship, that was just like it was one thing after the other. The face huggers. Oh my God. It was just like so intense in that red room when all of a sudden they just started waking up and the AI friend was just not rebooting, and it was
I mean, the tension works in this. I must admit, I was expecting a few more proper scares. But once they get onto the ship, obviously things go awry, blah, blah, blah. They're trying to find this fuel so they can go onto this other planet, whatever. It's just a plot device to set them up to be eaten, effectively. But yeah, they basically go onto this Weyland ship, which has loads of alien, eggs and stuff, facehuggers, all frozen. And for whatever reason, they become defrosted. And you get...
The heat was rising in the room.
Heat was rising in the room. You get these different levels of creepiness.
So in one of the rooms in the ship, they had the fuel things, the fuel canisters, and there wasn't enough to get them to the other planet. So then they went into that room to get some of the, I can't remember what they were called, but they were like little canisters to add
it was
to them.
the freezing stuff, wasn't it? Yeah.
So when they released it, it set off the
Yeah.
temperature spike, and then the temperature started releasing the facehuggers.
And then with facehuggers comes... do we want to say the two words again?
I mean, there's some serious... these are practical effects. This is not CGI.
There is proper body horror in this, and
it's disgusting.
It's amazing. It was fantastic. Sat between you two in the cinema, all three of us having such different reactions. I turned to my left. Gareth's covering his mouth.
Try not to throw up.
Yeah, try not to throw up. I turn to my right. Ali is curled up, recoiling. And I'm just looking at the screen and going, yeah! Because
Yeah, those facehugger tendrils,
they were disgusting. But
like
It felt like it could have been 10 seconds where you're seeing it happen, but it felt like a lifetime. It was
just
going on for so long.
they just keep coming and coming and coming.
and it's the first time we've actually seen someone like remove a facehugger out of a throat. And like, exactly. And the length of like the tendril and stuff like that. And,
How they
oh
made
my
that.
God. How the actor managed. I mean, I don't know whether
That would have to be a mix of with some have some practical, but with a good bit of CG.
good grief. I mean, that horrifying. Absolutely horrifying.
But between that, even just seeing the gestation, like from under the lumps coming in from under the skin, again, really, really gross, but really well made body horror moments.
And good creeping chase, because using the facehuggers to begin with, like you got the little like Jaws in the water sequence.
Yeah.
You got the little like low camera angles because obviously the facehuggers are really low. And so we basically have this set piece or a number of set pieces with the facehuggers and escaping from the facehuggers, and then we kind of escalate. So you go from facehuggers to then obviously eventually the alien. So once you've done with one thing, you're like, oh, I've just dealt with all that grossness, and now you're like, then you're into the next kind of thing.
And I think part of what sold it, made it so good, like so enjoyable. I mean, what I really enjoyed about watching some of them die was that the cast and the characters were really good. I mean, there were some that are just so unlikable, but they are unlikable characters. And at no point between the characters who are like more good guys and the ones that are much more a-hole-ish, none of it felt like forced or disingenuous.
Yeah.
I think that's what worked well about showing, mining capitalism world at the beginning, just showing like how this world has pushed and pushed and pushed, and how these kids, and they are supposed to be like older teenagers, very young adults, all orphans and only got each other, like pushing back.
I do like the fact as well that after however many Alien films, there's quite a lot of creative deaths here.
Yeah.
Stuff we haven't seen before, stuff people have often wondered about, and seeing that happen. And then,
Yeah.
I really liked reading as well. Like online, they were saying that it was all done chronological. So once that actor was like, they do all the deaths chronologically. So then that actor was done, and like some of the actors were saying it was weird because like one day they're on set and then they're dead, and then the next day they're like, oh, well now I have to find a new project. What do I do?
I do like the fact as well that we had a relatively unknown cast here, so we're back into that horror realm of we don't actually know who's going to survive, if anybody. Which is something that like years ago the Pitch Black did effectively, when even Vin Diesel wasn't a star. You weren't convinced. You had a whole host of different characters, but you didn't actually know who was going to survive. And it plays nicely on the original Alien, where at the time Sigourney Weaver was pretty much unknown, and the biggest actor, or the two biggest actors, John Hurt and the guy who plays the space captain, like last barely any time at all. And you kind of get that shock again of like, oh, I don't know who's going to make it, because if they've died,
But yeah, and the main two characters, the actors for them, I'm just having to look up their names: Kaylee Spaney and David Johnson.
Oh, they're excellent.
David Johnson as Andy, Andy the android. He is amazing.
He managed to portray the emotions really well, considering that he is literally an android.
Yeah.
They don't have emotions.
And the change in character as well.
Yes.
Like, it was brilliant. Like proper, like HAL 2001 Space Odyssey psychopath.
Yeah. But yeah, sells it really well. And playing a mechanical person, but with so much humanity in him, who just goes from being the lowest status character amongst the group to the highest, to the most important.
Yeah.
And he doesn't hammer up, doesn't go over the top with anything, or doesn't undersell anything. It's just little movements or little lines of dialogue that he had really sold made me feel for him.
Yeah.
And also a little bit scared of him.
It's really interesting as well that, like, obviously with the young cast and stuff, it really falls into the realm of a more traditional, like, slasher movie.
Yeah.
But obviously Alien hasn't always occupied that space. It's always been more about the monster hunting you. It's just an interesting kind of mix of subgenres that they've gone in for there.
Yeah.
With, like, the teenagers acting like douches, which
Yeah.
you'd normally expect in something like Cabin in the Woods or whatever. But yeah, and also some of their scenes are really creative, like the zero gravity stuff is
Oh, that was
awesome.
cool.
Absolutely
great.
awesome.
Very tense.
Yeah.
But really clever.
And also they use it like in 2 or 3 different ways. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like a video game, and here they go, here's a gimmick for this chapter, and we're going to use it in all these different creative ways, and then we're going to move on to something else. It's like when they first go on the space station, it looks like Alien Isolation.
Yeah.
But it just really cleverly done. You have the face hugger section, and then you have like the gravity section, and then with it just and all that, like the acid in the air.
Yeah.
Again, something.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
really cool editing, though. The way it
Yeah.
spiraled and you had to sort of like float through it.
I'd be interested to know how much that was VFX.
Yeah, but even just using the things that we already know come with, Alien,
Yeah,
with the Xenomorphs. We
Yeah.
know that they've got for those of us that have seen it before, we know that they've got acidic blood, but we've never seen it used like this, like as this level of a threat. And then, and it sells it for, people seeing it for the first time.
yeah, it is like Alien's greatest hits to. I mean, both to its detriment as well as its positive.
Yeah, I counted references to, I think, all of them. I can't really remember anything about
Definitely
3.
the first 4. There was definitely something in there about 3. I remember seeing it when we were on there, but I think it's to do with the design of the actual alien creatures, how their feet are.
Oh,
and stuff.
okay.
But definitely the first 4. I mean, there's some dialogue in there we didn't really need.
No.
Pretty unsubtle. The kind of get away from her,
Yeah.
you bitch. It's like, oh, okay, fine. Get away from her would have been enough.
Yeah.
So there's a few bits and bobs like that, and also I think, we could probably agree that that last section of the film,
I don't think it needed to be.
no, it did not need to be there. The callback to Alien Resurrection, if you've seen it.
So this film has ticking clocks upon ticking clocks upon ticking clocks. It carries the tension through the main film because not only are they trying to escape their oppressive planet, not only are they being hunted by these aliens, but the space station is about to crash into the rings of their planet.
Oh yeah. Aren't they running out of oxygen or something as well? Plus,
running out
and
of
the
oxygen.
gravity going up and down. Yeah.
So stakes upon stakes upon stakes. Part of it, I can't remember how long they said the timer was, but I think they said it was like, we got an hour until it crashes into the rings. It's like,
It's almost real time, isn't it?
well,
Like,
is
not
it?
quite.
It felt,
I think
it felt more.
45 minutes.
Oh, it felt super stretched out, like Dragon Ball Z level.
Okay.
Like,
because there was quite a bit where I hadn't mentioned the sound, the amount of time you had left, because they were doing like almost like a countdown, and I think it was it wasn't until we got to acid blood that they had announced the time again, and then that's when it became really urgent. I guess when it was more like the tense scenes, that would. Well,
I'm just thinking because the movie is like 90 minutes, and it takes about half an hour to get onto the ship, and then they said they've like got like an hour and a bit.
oh no,
So
it was a full 2
was
hours.
it 2 hours?
It was a 2 hours,
Yeah.
Okay.
but yeah, about an hour and a half at least on the ship.
Yeah.
And yeah, they've got the final countdown.
Yeah,
then
'cause
they've got
you have
then
that
they've got
last
the
section as well.
yeah, then they've got the escape the space station, and then there's a whole other last section at the end,
Which we didn't need.
Yeah, and which felt like a callback, not only to the first Alien,
And it goes back to Prometheus and
Prometheus and
Covenant.
Covenant.
It does make sense having seen Covenant, but I do question how many. If you think about what the point of the movie was to draw new fans in and take things back to basics, did we really need to be calling back to Covenant and Prometheus as well as 4 other Alien movies?
yeah.
It did bloat it.
Yeah, I mean, the references to some of the other Alien films, fine, a bit heavy-handed, but can deal with it. But there's, don't get me wrong, I quite liked Prometheus, but I don't need to revisit it.
There's a shocking statement right there.
Yeah.
Prometheus in terms of scale is great. But
Yeah, and it had
anything
some
else,
good ideas.
You should definitely watch Covenant if you like Prometheus.
Yeah,
Because it's better.
yeah. I guess maybe even like's a strong word. I definitely didn't hate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no like that's its own thing. That's its own story.
It's almost
It's like
like two separate arcs now.
Yeah.
You know, and it's nice to get back to like the Alien thing of the grime, like the working world. Almost like Star Wars gone wrong, kind of like these are working environments, this is industry, this is like real lives, real people.
Yeah, and the fact that, and it's good to see that in like not just the production design and, just how dirty and grimy and sweaty everyone is from being overworked, but also everything on the spaceships and the space station only half works.
Yeah,
it's all been battered, and fuel cells or fuel containers are half empty already.
Yeah,
because they've been used all the time. That's good.
It did get. I mean, this is ridiculous because inspiration, but it really did give me like Space Hulk vibes. Those like 40k fans out there. Obviously, Gene Stealers are direct rip-offs of Xenomorphs, but it was almost like weirdly taking inspiration from what it had been ripped off from in certain sections. Like the big floating abandoned Hulk in space. It's something that Alien has never really done before. But no, I mean, I'd probably give it about a 7 out of 10 overall.
I'd say an 8.
You'd say an 8?
I'd say an 8.
What do you reckon, Ali?
I think considering it's my first Alien film and I don't think I will watch any other Alien film, I think it's safe to say that I will give it a 4 out of 10.
A 4 out of 10?
4?
Yeah.
You weren't a fan.
You really weren't.
I wasn't a fan. I mean, it did have its good elements, but looking back on it,
I must
not
admit,
for me.
there isn't much there which, having seen Alien and Aliens, and even Alien 3, that would make me go back and view it as essential.
If you rewatch those original films a lot, then yeah, this isn't anything different. But it's
getting it out to a new audience. It works quite well. It's probably,
if you haven't seen them at all, or if you haven't watched them in a while, then this would be a good watch.
But it is very much the greatest hits tour, isn't it? I mean, it's probably like the 3rd or 4th best Alien film. I'd probably say.
I'd call it 3rd.
3rd best. We can argue about Alien 3.
Yeah.
But it's not a patch on it's not a patch on the tension of Alien or the outright chaos of Aliens.
Yeah.
Or the characterization of Aliens. It's very much more in the Alien mold. That kind of classic horror mold, but yeah, it's nice, it's successful, it's made money.
Good. I'm glad.
The cast is strong, but
it was quite a small budget as well, so it's definitely made all its money back.
But it was kind of like a fast food cinema, isn't it? I can't. There's nothing particularly lasting. I know I've been quite positive about it generally, but it's almost like a made-for-TV.
Nah,
do you not think?
No, it's better than that. It's better than that. But I'm just again, I think it's like what you said at the start. Like Prey, it's going back to basics, going back to what made the franchise successful in the first place, and just doing that again, but for new audiences.
Yeah.
And it works. When it works, it works.
I think Prey is better. I have to say, as a reboot of a franchise, I think Prey is better. But I still like the design and everything in it, and the fact that they built the aliens.
Yeah.
And there's minimal CGI being used, and the deaths are really creative. And I think it's good entry material to get people into Alien as well.
Yeah.
And hopefully they might go and check out Alien or Aliens or some of the others. Hopefully they don't start with Resurrection.
Yeah.
But why would you, I guess?
But it would be a good I'd consider it a good launch pad to watch those first two.
Yeah.
If you liked what you see, if you like this kind of horror. If you don't, then, run for the hills from the other movies.
I think that probably brings us to the end of our returning podcast. We'll just finish up. What are people planning on seeing next? So I know you're off to see Beetlejuice.
I'm off to see Beetlejuice finally.
Ali, any thoughts on what might be your next excursion?
Joker 2.
Joker 2.
Sure.
And me being the cool one, my next excursion will be the Mean Girls 30th anniversary edition. That would be an interesting triple to talk about. Beetlejuice, Mean Girls, and Joker. We could possibly do that. Actually. We will see. We will see what happens. We might come up with some other bright idea. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.